Hey, this is David Owen.
And this is Marianne Callaghan.
And this is You Show Me Yours, a podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and television that they loved before the first date. And this time, I was made to watch Last Holiday.
Oh, yeah. I'm pulling out all the rom-com stops for him, folks. Yeah. No, it's the holidays, and, you know, it's time for some holiday rom-coms. Although, upon rewatching, this is really not about Christmas at all.
Like holiday in the sense that it takes place during the holidays, but
like very tangentially. Christmas. Yeah. Well, and I think you've made the assertion before that there are movies that happen to be set at Christmas, and there are movies where Christmas is integral to the plot, and this is very much the first.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, plus, they don't ever mention Christmas.
Yeah, no, I didn't mention New Year's, but yeah.
But not Christmas, which is strange. So anyway, this is the 2006 rom-com with Queen Latifah and LL Cool J and Gerard Depardieu. Who is surprisingly intelligible. Yeah, that was a very... Do that again? That was a good accent.
Gerard Depardieu.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a little past his shelf life. I feel like this. What was the movie what was his big movie?
Something in the 90s.
Yeah, I remember like him on being on a boat and like
I don't know. I feel like at this point, he is something of a French Jerry Lewis in that he's. I mean, I'm thinking Jerry Lewis because the French people loved Jerry Lewis. And I don't think Americans did. So I think he's bigger in France than I don't know.
Could he just, he's the French Jerry Lewis. Couldn't he just be the French, Morgan Freeman or something?
And I'm saying French Jerry Lewis because he actually is French. I don't know. I don't know.
Morgan Freeman. He's like the American Robert Redford.
Okay. Maybe we should start over, and I should not try to make. I don't know.
Nope.
Anyway,
we are like a minute and a half in.
All right,
we are gold now.
Gerard Depardieu. And a whole bunch of other people who, honestly, I couldn't even remember their names. I just know the actors' names. So
the character names.
Yeah. No. I wrote on my list Senator 1, Senator 2. I don't even know if both of them are senators, but that's. Yeah. So the plot, by the way.
Yeah.
Queen Latifah is, her name is George Bird, and she is a very meek, self-deprecating, shy. She is a saleswoman at a department store in the cook bar section. Imagine that retail being like a career. Not really true anymore.
It's kind of like, it feels like it was maybe written a while, before... Back when you could work at a department store.
We're going to get to that.
This is clearly like a generic department store.
Well, it's kind of, it feels like, the big downtown department store, which a lot of cities used to have. And I think they don't anymore, but there was kind of like a destination. But anyway, she's in the cookware department. She is seen to be a very good cook and gives demonstrations but only cooks for other people. She doesn't let herself eat any of it. She eats lean cuisines, which she buys with a coupon. And she is desperately in love with Sean Williams, played by LL Cool J, which who was her coworker, but she can never say anything about it. She, through a series of misadventures, is told that she has a rare, condition called Lamington's disease, and she has 3 weeks to live, and she decides, F this, I'm not going to live the rest of my life being miserable. I'm going to take all my savings and go to this hotel in the Czech Republic that has been like her dream to go to because of Gerard Depardieu is Chef Didier. She wants to eat his cooking, and she goes, and some misdirection happens, and people think that she's rich, and of course they pay more attention to her.
Oh, yes,
because they think she's rich, and it turns out that she doesn't have this disease, and she's not dying, and it's revealed that she's not rich, but she doesn't care. She loves herself anyway, and guess what? Sean loves her, and boom, the end.
Yeah.
And the people who need to get comeuppance get comeuppance, and the people who deserve to be happy are happy. End of story.
Except the Congress people.
We don't.
We didn't get an update on them. I was waiting for, But yeah, they don't get a, they don't get a title end card.
Maybe they got reelected. We don't know. Yeah, well, they're so bland. They're just Senator 1 and Senator 2. There was a part toward the end. I thought I was beginning to think of them as Statler and Waldorf.
Right, yeah, where they're just like...
They're just kind of like Mystery Science Theatering all over the main action. So I would like to see that version where they just give commentary on stuff. Maybe they can give commentary on like actual DC events.
Sure, yeah.
Like they're going to MST3K, the State of the Union or something.
Right.
Anyway, okay, so yeah. What did you think of this movie?
It was fine. You caught me in the middle of a yawn, if that's a commentary on it. It was fine. Yeah. It's enjoyable. I think Queen Latifah is endearing in it. I think she's well cast in this role and plays it well. This is like peak Latifah of like, you know, being this sort of jovial, slightly overweight female comedian / singer / whatever, you know, she is. Her list goes on.
Now, why do you mention her weight?
Because it's a plot point.
Well,
on some level,
yes and no. Tell me more about that.
I think if you put, if you swapped her with her sister's actor, it's a different movie. Like her being like typically a Hollywood hot actress doesn't work as well. Like her being a kind of against type. It's the same as casting like kind of a schlubby dude in a movie. It's like Seth Rogen, you know. It's or Jonah Hill or something. It's like, all right, this guy's not like outwardly attractive, but he's
we're not supposed to comment on Jonah Hill's body.
Oh, right.
Did you not get the memo?
I heard something about that.
Yeah, good or bad.
Yeah, yes.
Don't.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a plot point, but I also think the movie doesn't work as well if it's not a quote non-typical or atypical actress body type. In that role.
And I feel mildly uncomfortable. About that. I had written in my notes, you know, women in diet culture because we see at the beginning, like she makes these delicious meals, which and Emeril Lagasse is her chef inspiration, which is hysterical because when was the last time you heard anything from Emeril Lagasse? I'm sure he's still around. He's still cooking. He's still doing stuff, but he was huge there around this time.
This is a big time and place movie. There's some other stuff.
I haven't heard anyone say "bam" in forever.
Yeah. Bam.
Anyway, but she doesn't eat it. She eats lean cuisine, and you assume it's not just because it was on sale. It's because it, you know, diet everything. She's not going to eat the full fat version of anything. Yeah.
She's been denying herself this.
Well, and I think that she denies herself a whole lot of pleasures, but particularly regarding food. And it's not a big plot point that, you know, she hates herself because of her body, or even she hates her body, or, you know, any of these things, but it's this undercurrent. It's kind of assumed like, well, she's a larger woman, so clearly. And then I'm like, that's not necessary.
She comes off as confident, but in the same sort of way that I'm confident, like I am overweight and happy in my skin, but also understand that I should be losing weight for my health. She's happy, but she has society / maybe a doctor has told her, you got to lose weight.
Well, yeah, I think, not to negate anything that you saw in this, but I feel like the overweight woman has specific messages that she gets that an overweight man does not necessarily.
Oh, absolutely. That is me relaying my experience.
Okay.
Absolutely. The female experience is 1,000% on the other end of the spectrum from mine. Like, no one is telling overweight men that they need to lose weight to be attractive. Right. They may be telling themselves that, as I did when I was younger. They may be equating that, you know, those two things through their experiences, but society, magazines, and yes, there's Men's Health and fitness magazines and all these things, but there aren't a lot of Hollywood movies telling men that they need to take off their glasses or style their hair or lose weight to find a woman or something.
However, there is a little bit of, you can see diet culture in this, although it could be just she's depriving herself of everything. Like she's waiting until
she's saving her money. She's not living extravagantly. She's
That said, I like that clearly her being overweight is not even, I don't know. She's just a big woman. I don't want to get into what is her BMI. She's, does not prevent Sean from loving her.
Yeah.
And not, and there could have been a moment in that she goes to this hotel and she goes to a dress shop and she says, "Oh, make me international." And the sales girls are snooty and say, "Well, we can try." But there's never anything like, "We don't have your size. You should try Sears." Like there's none of that stuff. So it's not as fat shaming as it could be, which I appreciate. But I'm also a woman of size. So I see these things sometimes and there was a little cringe and then it was.
Right. I would say that we've spent more time on it than the movie did at this point because, essentially there is a light joke in the dress shop and there's the fact that she eats lean cuisines instead of the fatty dishes that she cooks. Well, like that's pretty much it.
So she's in the restaurant and she's eating Chef Didier's food and she wants to try everything. So she orders one of all the entrees. And she's not watching her cholesterol. Blah, 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 blah. And then the chef comes and talks to her and he's like, "Oh, you clearly have such an appetite," which is sometimes a code for you sure eat a lot. I can tell.
Yeah.
Which is like,
I didn't take it that way because it was contrasted directly against all of the rich people at the rich people's table asking for no fat and hold the bacon and hold the cream and no butter and all these things. So I didn't take it as like it could be. You're right. It could be misconstrued though.
Well, I did. I thought that was funny. This by the way, it came out in 2006, so it's a little bit of a cheat because this came out after we had met, but Dave hadn't seen it, so whatever. Mm-hmm. I know he's holding it against me. Were this made today, everybody would be, "Oh, no gluten."
Yeah. It would be, I'm on keto.
Yeah, they still would be, some of them would be avoiding the dairy.
Yeah.
But it would definitely be no gluten and no carbs, please.
Yeah, a lot of that.
But still substitutions, which was the point.
Yeah.
Back to, you said it seemed like this script was written a while before. I don't know if it was, but this has some origins well before the movie came out. Well, so first of all, when this came out, I thought that it was heavily based on a book that I just adore. It is really one of my favorites. It's called The Blue Castle. It's by the woman who wrote the Anne of Green Gables series, and it's it's written in probably 1912-ish, but it's a very modern story. It's very similar to this. This woman is she's turning 30 on the day that the book starts, and she has never been sought out by a man, and so she lives with her mother and her mother's cousin, and she's very meek. She has a pretty miserable life, and through a series of mix-ups, she is told that she has some heart condition and has like a year to live, and she says, "F this, I'm gonna go have some fun," and blah blah blah. And she marries somebody who she genuinely has affection for, and vice versa, but it's not, and she thinks, "Oh, this is temporary." She finds out it was a mistake. She doesn't have the thing, and then he loves her anyway, blah 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 blah. Anyway. I adore it. I used to read it like once a year because it's just so refreshing.
All right.
It's not based on that at all, but the story is obviously very similar. What it is based on is a 1950 movie called Last Holiday. The character is George Bird, not Georgia.
Sure.
And I don't remember if he is a retail employee. He may be, and maybe that's where they got that from.
The whole department store thing makes more sense.
And he has a fatal disease, blah, 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 and everything is fairly similar up until he finds out that he doesn't have the disease. Okay, great. Blah, blah, blah. And then he's hit by a car and he dies anyway.
Nice.
So
that's the 1-2 punch that I wanted out of Sliding Doors.
Yeah. There was talk of, when they talked about remaking it and in what ended up being this version, originally John Candy was going to star in
Sure,
it.
yeah.
And if you recall, when did he die? Like 94?
Something like that.
So
The 90s.
think about how long this sat.
Yeah, you always know something is up with a movie when during the intro credits, one of the credits is based on the screenplay by someone. Because that's not the credit that you put in there when you're writing an original screenplay or basing it on a book or something else.
No.
You put that in there when you have adapted a screenplay from a previous movie or whatever.
Someone wrote something and it's all...
like...
So they took the
like
curling pages out and they so but I'm just which is odd. So we talked about Queen Latifah as a woman of size. John Candy is definitely a man of size, so that's probably completely coincidental, and
I think it does work. Like, it doesn't have to be of size, but it needs to be a not conventionally attractive / sort of someone who is, I mean, it just can't be a leading man or a leading woman style actor. It didn't have to be. It could be, like J.K. Simmons or something. Like, you just fill in a character actor or someone who's not traditionally attractive.
In the original, the 1951, the actor was Alec Guinness.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Obi-Wan. But he also, I think, is supposed to be sort of meek and mild-mannered, and the only reason that he can pass as a wealthy person is that he ends up finding a suitcase that has fancy clothes in it that just magically fit him. Like, it's
you do. I mean,
sure, I discover abandoned suitcases all the time. It's ski wear, and I don't ski, so and polo outfits. Polo's not my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk about Cragen for a second?
Sure, yes.
What a douche. Which is, we're supposed to think he's a douche. Okay.
I think, Timothy Hutton doing some fine acting.
Yes. I mean, he's delicious to watch because he is immersed in the character.
And all of the pre-stuff, like the lead up to him, so she works at a department store that is called like Cragen's or whatever, like owned by him. And her boss is like this, Weasley suck up who consumes everything that Cragen, who is this sort of like, not Tony Robbins, but this sort of he's a media, he's doing all the stuff. He's got the CD set for like your success. He puts out a magazine of himself.
I feel like Elon Musk would like
Elon
to be
Musk
this
sort
person.
There's I mean, he's got a little bit of Tony Robbins in there, but it's more of pick a rich guy who is really satisfied with himself.
Yeah.
And
that's this guy. And her boss is sort of a disciple of him and hands out the book to everybody. And at one point,
the
George
magazine articles. And
stuff. We got it. I read it already. We'll read it again.
Yeah. Because of course he supplies all of his employees with copies of the magazine that is named after him, with him on the cover with stories about him.
Yes. I'm wondering if that was a dig at Martha Stewart.
Maybe.
Or Oprah.
At the time.
Or because Oprah's always in the cover of her magazine.
Yeah, pick one of those. Yeah, like it really was. Yeah. I mean, it's the character feels like an amalgamation of a lot of things. Like a sleazy emotion, or a sleazy motivational speaker, a self-satisfied entrepreneur, and
My phrase about people like that is, he likes himself an awful lot. Yeah. So I don't need to like him too. That would throw off the balance of the planet. So even before we meet Timothy Hutton, there's this, this air of like Cragen, like you just know he's going to be a jerk.
Yeah.
What's funny to me is the first thing that I saw Timothy Hutton in was Ordinary People, which was like 25 years before this, more than that. He was a teenager. He's this very he's this depressed teenager who's in therapy, and it's like, I'm like, that guy grew up to be Matthew Cragen? What? How did that happen? I don't know, but that's acting. He's terrible.
And it's that kind of thing where I'm trying to think, there are other movies and stories where someone fish out of water comes into usually sort of aristocratic surroundings and makes everyone realize that they're all actually kind of shitty people. Yeah.
Well, and so at the end, the big reveal, this is what happens to be on New Year's Eve. This is where this turns into a holiday movie briefly, which you didn't know it was before. Cragen has found out that Georgia works at one of his department stores, and he reveals this, and he's like, oh, she's an imposter. And Georgia has this speech that is kind of apologizing, but kind of explaining, you know, and part of me wants to go, imposter for what?
Right.
I never lied.
Yeah. You
assumed all these things about me. When it's fine, because at the end, everyone at his table, which is his mistress and 2 senators who he's trying to woo, and the senator's wife, and they all are like, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
And they leave. So the effect is the same. But I'm just like, I would like someone to say to him, you assume things about me, and now you're trying to say that because I'm not wealthy, I don't have any value? Like, wow.
Yeah. Well, there's something to be said about, I think, the idea that rich people assume when they're in a place like this, in this fancy hotel in the Czech Republic or whatever, they are surrounded by their own kind.
Yeah.
And he has a line in there of like, you know, we listened to you and paid attention to you because we thought you were important. And you're not.
Yeah, I think he says, like, we thought you were somebody.
Yeah.
Which is even worse. Like, well, and I thought at some point there's some indication to, like, she has a good deal of money.
Yeah.
And then one of the senators like, well, due to my position on the Commerce Committee, I like to get thoughts from people who've invested wisely like you have. And I'm like, she just had a savings account for a really long time.
Yeah.
She got it from my clipping coupon. And she says that. I just clipped a lot of coupons.
Yeah, which they, of course, think is like this sort of faux humility that rich people do. Like, you know, I just put a little bit away at every paycheck. Yeah. You know, oh, yeah, right. Of course you did. Yeah.
She's kind of like... you see these memes about advice for millennials: make your own coffee and skip the avocado toast and get a loan of $2 million from your parents. You can do it. I did too. Like it's kind of like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love those articles. How I paid off my student loans by 24. You know, I stopped buying coffee at Starbucks and I lived with my parents rent free for 3 years after college.
And then even when I lived on my own, my parents paid my rent.
Right. And my insurance and my car and everything.
Wow.
Oh, really? Yeah, man. That's tough. You're roughing it there.
Yeah, you're an inspiration to us all.
You did it.
Really.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't, this movie was not torture to make it through. Like, it was fine. It was predictable. It was by the numbers.
It's extremely
It's a little bit all over the place. Some of the stuff you're just like, what? Okay. You know, like when Sean just basically on a whim, he quits his job after she has, and he kind of pieces together that maybe she's gone to this hotel in the Czech Republic, and he flies there.
Goes, and he hates flying, clearly. And
they're like, okay, sure.
It's a lot of, and of course, nobody would know. None of these things would work out if the kid who's her neighbor who eats all her fancy food, if he weren't there, you know.
Yeah, but also like didn't fish her book out of the trash, because they very clearly show her throwing it away.
There were some cut scenes there.
I'm guessing.
And also an explanation of how she hits her head and they take... And she's knocked out briefly, and they take her to the store's clinic.
Yeah, to the clinic, which is inside this department store. Which nowadays is like, okay, because there's a place inside of a, you know, CVS.
But they have a CAT scan,
right? But it's a full service clinic, and they have a CAT scan, right? Like,
well, the CAT scan is used.
It's used, of course.
And unbeknownst to anybody, it has some, you know, marks on it, like, you know, when you have a copier and there's just streaks on it.
Yeah.
This is like that, except they look like brain tumors.
Right. Yeah.
And there's some sort of cut scene where, you know, another patient comes in and has a CAT scan and like, oh, you have the same tumors as George. But wait,
weird.
you know, there's a lot. There's a lot cut here. But.
Yeah. I mean, I think on some level, for the better, but because this sort of movie doesn't have to make sense, but there was some version of this. I feel like, and this is me with my amateur screenwriting, you know, like there's a tighter version of this script that deals with some of this stuff a little bit better.
Oh, yes.
But at the same time, it doesn't super suffer from that kind of stuff. It just leaves you going, huh? Oh, okay. Well, whatever. Okay, I'll just go along for the ride.
I'm caught up now, but wow, that was weird for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like it's not like a movie where something really vital is left out and you have to like read it, just Google it and be like, oh, that's what that guy meant when he said that.
Well,
oh, okay.
That is because for a living, I edit things that people have written, and it's my job to be like, oh, you didn't explain this. Okay, let's tweak that, or let's tighten that, or whatever. And that always is frustrating to me when, there's a cut scene clearly. So they didn't go back and be like, let's add this line to we smooth it out.
Yeah, we've got this B-roll of the back of this guy's head, and we're just going to put a voiceover that clearly sounds like it was recorded later. Of I think there's something wrong with the machine.
Yeah, I find that frustrating, but that's occupational hazard.
Yeah.
I love, by the way, that this guy is so brazen, back to Cragen and being a douche, that he's bringing his mistress with him. And it's clear that that's what she is, because he didn't bring his wife.
Yes.
And he's flaunting her. I mean, granted, he's on another continent, but
yeah. Well, clearly this is probably not the first time, because the hotel staff's like, "Oh, is your wife joining us this time?" Like, "Oh no, it's strictly business." Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Oh,
we're in the same room, wink. But it's totally business."
Wink,
wink. Yeah.
And the mistress is played by
Alicia Witt,
right?
Who we saw last week in Dune as age
baby.
6,
That's
and
her first
now
movie.
she's a grown up.
Yeah. So this might be the first time that we've had the same actor appear.
Mm-hmm.
The same, not main character actor. Like the chances are we're going to see your headline stars more than once on this podcast, but to see a secondary actor and back to back.
I feel like there may have been some actors who repeated.
No, there's going to be repeat actors. This may be one of our first ones where we're noticing but back to back for sure.
Yeah,
it's got to be the first time back to back.
Yeah. So and then she was tiny, and now she's a grown up, and she's this guy's mistress, and she works for his company in a very high level, and she didn't finish school. I'm like, how do you? Okay.
Well, I think she was probably some low level employee, and one thing led to another.
Like, you're cute. That's
young. And
see, that's the thing that I don't ever have to worry about.
Well, you're not young. You don't have to worry
Even
about that.
when I was young, I did not have to worry about, oh, you're cute, come be my mistress. So, that's what kept me in school.
Yes.
Be homely and stay in school, ladies. Your life is better.
Right.
Sorry, Alicia Witt. You're lovely. Just your characters have odd life paths.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay. So you think it would have been better if she died?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't necessarily think so. I mean, yeah. I'm just saying I'm saying that was the 1-2 punch I wanted out of sliding doors. I want the B timeline. I want short hair timeline to get hit by the car.
Nobody ends up happy.
Swerves to hit long hair timeline. Whatever. I wanted something like that. As it is, it's like the tragedy is there, but I wanted some kind of gut punch.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think it's any better, because with a movie like this, why not have a happy ending? It's always, I think it's one of the biggest mistakes you can make to have a romantic comedy, lighthearted movie that then just ends with some kind of gut punch ending. Why?
That's City of Angels.
Yeah. Or what was that?
Which is the worst.
What was that movie? Where it ended by them zooming out and they were in the Twin Towers on 9/11?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh God, what was that movie?
I don't know.
I got.
Oh my gosh, that sounds terrible.
It's like a straight up family drama kind of movie, and then at the end of the movie, they zoom out and they're in the Twin Towers, and the plane is coming in. I don't. Okay, stall. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, that sounds terrible. Oh geez. Well, you want something where somebody dies. This movie called One Day is another one. It's notable because Anne Hathaway has a pretty terrible Scottish accent. But
I got through movie that ends with, and then the first thing it completes is 9/11.
Oh geez.
Remember Me.
Oh,
it's Robert Pattinson.
Oh
yes, Chris Cooper.
Okay, I knew that was somehow related to 9/11.
Yes.
I've never seen it because I find him creepy and awful.
Romance drama. Yeah.
And death on 9/11.
Ends with 9/11.
Oh my God. Okay, now I need to see it. I need to get super
That's
drunk
good.
and Mystery Science Theater.
This is someday we'll have a Patreon, and that's on there.
Yeah. Well, okay, so to finish up one day, they're friends who are at various times in love with each other, and it tells the story on they meet on July 5th or whatever, and it tells their story on July 5th every year.
Yeah.
And they have recently been in love with each other at the same time, and they get together, and I think they're married. And then on the last July 5th, she is riding her bike and is hit by a car and dies.
Yeah,
and then at the end, it's like, oh, well, she showed me the blah, 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 and you're just like, what?
Yeah,
that's not okay.
I get it when you're a movie that has already been soul crushing or whatever, but I don't get it when you are
rom-coms don't need to make me.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It just doesn't need that kind of ending. Yeah, I don't need like the big musical number at the end of the rom-com to end with a zoom out that reveals that the main character's been in a coma the whole time. And it's just like rapid eye movement, and then in the background you just hear boo as they flatline, and like. I'm sure that's happened in a movie. Like that has to have happened in a movie.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. So, well, this is why we have rom-coms to show that there's some happiness in a cruel world.
Apparently.
And, you should eat the gumbo and put a lot of wine in it and all the butter and
yes,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. This movie is kind of weird because it feels like this is going to be an interesting movie because it's going to be like she's very set up as a normal everyday person. And I remember thinking in the beginning of the movie, like, oh, I'm actually kind of interested in seeing, but knowing nothing about this movie at all, I was like, oh, I'm kind of interested in seeing this little like, will they, won't they love triangle or love affair thing between just two retail store employees. Like this might actually be interesting.
Yeah.
And then it just goes off in a whole nother direction. Like, oh, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's a version of this movie that I want to see that's just regular workaday people in their regular workaday lives instead of jetting off to the fanciest hotel in the world.
I think that's called like, sorry, our life is boring.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because that was what I was thinking. I was like, how are they going to make a funny, interesting movie out of just like working class people living a working class life? Because so often, whether you realize it or not, in a movie like that, either they just say, oh, these people don't work. Or, these people just have jobs that make it able for them to just go to a cafe in the middle of the day for no reason.
It's friends and they have this huge apartment and they're, there's on everything unrealistic. Yeah. And George is in a duplex in not a very good neighborhood and it's regular. I would like to get the perspective of somebody who lives in New Orleans on this movie. So this came out in 2006. I'm assuming it was filmed before Katrina and like in the can before, and they just decided not to mention any of it. You'd have
to guess because there's no.
I feel like it would have been made more of a plot point.
Yeah,
if it would, but they show a lot of. They show streetcars. There's lots of New Orleans food, and then anyway, I would just some. Movies, they just happen to be set somewhere. Some are like love letters to the city. This feels somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. It is kind of, and it is. They were definitely trying to like put it in its place. Mm-hmm. They talk about. You have Emerald making Cajun inspired food.
What's the? It's a street name, and I can never say it. Chupatulas. It starts with a T, but doesn't sound like it starts with a T. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. But also there's one of the early plot points is that Sean invites her to a Hornets game.
Yeah. That is
which
very
is hilarious because
thing.
That is like, that's like a 4-year period where the Charlotte Hornets and the Charlotte Bobcats and the New Orleans Hornets existed in this like tiny little capsule of space before the Hornets name was given back to the
now in New Orleans they have the Pelicans,
right? I guess. I if they even still have it, I don't know. I don't keep up with basketball that much anymore.
No.
But that was hilarious when they were like, because for a second I was like, is this set in Charlotte? And then I had to be like, oh no, wait.
Oh no.
Because it was early enough in the movie where I still wasn't quite sure where they were. And I was like, oh no, wait, right. I remember that when the Hornets.
Oh wait, so that happened.
So that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
What a time capsule right there.
It really, you don't, and you don't realize it until you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. And they were just like, that major sports team that we have here in New Orleans, the Hornets.
Sure.
Like it could have been a Saints game. I guess, it would have worked timing wise too, that they could have had tickets to a Saints game. But yeah, that was very, it's like, it's always going to be kind of weird and creepy, off-putting, whatever, seeing the Twin Towers in a movie that was, filmed way before 2001.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one right here is probably the most unique one that I've encountered where it's like, oh, like time and place thing where you realize, that did happen.
I did see part of a movie last night that I teased you I would make you watch on this podcast, and I don't think I will because it's dramatic, but where one of the plot points is people are being wooed to be in a movie version of Cats. And this was made in like 1993. And of course, at the time, everybody was like, a movie version of Cats? How ridiculous.
Cats is great.
Now you watch it and you're like, oh, wait, that's
like, remember that simpler time when we all thought Cats could be made into a movie and it wouldn't suck?
Well, no, or in 1993, that was ridiculous, right? Like, they'll never make that into a, how did you?
You couldn't possibly make Cats into a movie.
We did, and I refused to watch it, so I don't know if we should have or shouldn't have. I think the consensus is shouldn't, but regardless. That's 6 Degrees of Separation, by the way, if you want to hear jokes about cats. A movie of Cats.
Yes.
Quite good, but not really podcast fodder, I'm told.
No.
Because
you just watched it for the first time yesterday.
Not for the first time, for like the 10th.
I don't know about that. That doesn't sound likely. I mean, I don't really care. We can talk about any movie on this that you want to talk about. Nothing is off limits, even things that clearly break the rules.
Yes.
That we have firmly established.
Yeah.
No,
you were okay with this.
We will be breaking the rules plenty. There are plenty of movies. Sometimes it'll be a very deliberate thing, like, hey, we're going to break the rules for the next 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll just be whatever.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed, Georgia really endears herself to the staff because, I mean, she just treats them like human beings, but also she stands up for them one time.
Yeah.
Alicia Witt's character is really kind of rude to a masseuse who is, massaging her neck too harshly. And Latifah, stands up and says, hey, stop it. You don't talk like that to working people. And then she dresses her down and says, like, your neck hurts because you've been going out on Mr. Craig and blah, 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 but whatever. But mostly like, don't talk to people like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think about that. When I'm in, sort of fancy situations, I always try to say thank you to waiters. And so if they're bringing me stuff, like sometimes I end up saying thank you 3 times in the space of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wonder, because you hear about, like in super high society in Britain, for example, you're supposed to pretend that they're not there.
Right.
Like that's a mark of how well they do their craft, is you don't engage with, they're their servants or staff or anything like that. And so it's a little bit insulting to say, thank you, and sometimes I wonder, am I actually, but then I'm like, I'm in the US. It's fine.
Right. It's all different here.
I'm very middle class. So most people that I'm interacting with are going to be fine with me. If I'm gauche, well, that's too bad. But I try to be respectful, and I'm, teaching our kid to be the same way. And one time I completely embarrassed him because I dressed down a woman in public who had been yelling at her waitress. And I was like, just so you know, that's not going to fix anything. And you just made everyone around you uncomfortable. So have some compassion next time. And our kid is behind me going, oh my God, Mom. Oh my God. And I was like, well, it's not going to be the last time. So strap in.
Yes. Prepare for embarrassment.
Yeah. But it's sort of funny. Like that's kind of a mark of not a rich person, that she does that and says, don't treat working people that way. But then only the one person saw it. So they didn't they didn't notice that. That
Yeah.
wasn't a tip
Oh,
off.
yeah. But yeah, as we climb the sort of ladder of whatever financial independence or whatever you want to call it, that is sort of my barometer for if I'm still sort of in with the working people. The moment that I don't feel weird about someone doing something for me, especially something I could do for myself, is the moment where I'm like, oh wait, hang on, and like we are by no means rich, but have been in situations where it's been like awkward, and I'm glad that it still feels awkward. Like I don't want it to stop feeling awkward that someone is, laying out my, silverware and
I'll always say thank you. Yeah. Although I'm always like, I'll carry my bags myself because I don't know how to tip for that.
Yeah,
so.
I can't even let the kid at the Publix carry my groceries out to the car.
Oh no.
Why? I'm walking out to the car too. Why would I walk alongside you awkwardly as you push my cart to my car?
I'm always very cheerful, like, oh no, thank you, I've got it.
Right.
And I'm always like, do I look old to you? Is that why you think I need help? I don't know.
The answer to that is yes, but not the reason I'm asking you. The answer to your first question is yes, but that is not the reason.
Rude.
Oh, come on.
Rude.
To the 17-year-old at the Publix, we both look like we're in our 80s.
That's true. He's like, I'm amazed you can walk upright.
Right. Yeah. They're like, what was the First World War like?
What did our kid say the other day? He's like, I didn't think color TV was invented until the 80s.
The 80s, yeah. Yeah, we were showing him the Muppet Show, and it was 1971, and he was like, "It's in color?
Wow!
Yeah, wow, wow." Oh,
yeah. Well, I remember my mother was born in 1947, and I used to say to her, "What was it like being alive during World War II?" And she was like, "I was not alive." Not only that, I wouldn't have been paying attention because I was an infant.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now it's like when someone can legitimately ask us, what were the 1900s like? Well, sit down. Set a spell and I'll tell you about the 1900s.
Yeah. I also was horrified that my parents weren't intimately involved in the civil rights movement. I was like, you were alive then. Why didn't you do something? And they were like, well, let me explain some things. So what is our kid going to ask us about?
Oh, Lord, I don't know.
Why weren't you part of Occupy Wall Street?
Right.
Well, good question. I don't know. Anyway. So I think this is sort of a light episode, y'all, because it's a rather light movie, and we didn't find any toxic masculinity in it. Well, no, I'm sure Kragen is a toxic
absolutely.
male,
yeah,
but
he's cheating on his wife.
Yeah, it's not really it's obvious. It's not.
Yeah. And this movie tries to take little jabs with the senator and the congressman. Yeah. At the government, and shout out to Giancarlo, what's his name?
Esposito.
Yeah, Esposito. Yeah, looking good in this movie, looking fit. Yeah, in his prime.
He's. I mean, both of them. I gotta say, they're snacks.
Sure.
Michael Nouri also, who was the boyfriend in Flashdance.
Yes.
Terrible movie, but he's in it. Yeah. So Yeah.
So it tries to do a little bit of here and there, but it's just it's I don't think I laughed for the whole thing, but I smiled a couple times.
You smirked a little bit. You did.
It was fun. It was interesting. Yeah, I think Queen Latifah is really good in the role.
She is.
I think everybody is really good in their roles. Every single person who's in the movie. I wouldn't you could change out LL Cool J for just about anybody. For Taye Diggs or whatever. Pick a heartthrob from the early 2000s.
Fanning myself at the mention of Taye Diggs. Yeah. Oh, well, okay. So wasn't LL Cool J in a movie where he was possessed or something? I have a point. Okay. So, and there was some scene where like his eyes were, he had special contacts in to make him look possessed. Like it was no irises, just, or no pupils, just no, which is the colored part. The iris is the colored part. No irises, just pupils. Anyway, his eyes are so dark that for most of this movie, I kept thinking, why are his eyes all dilated like that? So yeah, maybe we could get somebody with normal looking eyes.
Yeah. I'm just Googling LL Cool J possessed.
I swear it was a thing.
Not getting anything.
No? Okay.
No. Sorry.
Was it Remember Me with Robert Pattinson?
Yes. Yes. In Remember Me, LL Cool J plays the Twin Towers.
Okay. So that was just something that I noticed and nobody else.
Yeah. No.
Nobody else.
I mean, yeah,
okay.
he's got dark eyes, sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I think
anyway.
everybody else, even the Gunther, the
floor valet.
The Frau.
I have never been at a hotel that had that. They don't have those
great,
at the Hampton Inn.
You know, it's that, you know, she's great. They're all great, you know. And Gerard Depardieu, great.
Yeah,
you know, just doing his thing. Doing his Gerard
Depardieu-ist.
Although that would have been, given the time that this happened, like that would have been a great, like today, that would be a celebrity chef. That would be like Gordon Ramsay in that role.
Okay, I'm
like
dying.
Bobby Flay.
I'm dying now to imagine Gordon Ramsay.
Like they would cast a, you know, moderate to big time food celebrity in that role if that movie were made today, for sure. But yeah, I think at the time,
smokes.
like, you know, Gerard Depardieu was like exotic, you know, and like it worked.
Yeah. Wasn't he like, at one point he was kind of a sex symbol, right?
Like when he first came to America in the 90s, like, whatever those first couple movies were, women were like, oh, that accent.
Like, he has an interesting nose.
Yeah, and then he just got wide after that. he just widened out. Like, what?
We're talking about, like, we want to respect people of any size, and wow.
It happens to men as they get older. They just get wide. Like, their faces widen out. Shoulders kind of broaden in a weird way.
He has a bit of, he's the French Nick Nolte.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
he has a little bit of that.
A little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. Good. Yeah. Watch this movie. It's fine. It is in no way about Christmas.
No, it's not. I apologize for that.
My movie next week is at least set in and around Christmas. While it may not be focused on Christmas, some of the theming might be. This movie, nothing to do with Christmas at all. I don't even remember a Christmas tree.
No, it's sort of funny. At the beginning, she walks by a billboard that says Jesus is the reason for the season, and then no mention of Christmas at all. Not even like, I'm like, how do you have two church services? Right, like presumably Christmas was in between, and then nothing. So who knows? Anyway,
last holiday.
Yeah, the lesson of this movie: if you get a terminal diagnosis, get a second opinion and ask how old the machines are that are doing the diagnostics.
You want not just a second opinion, because she does get a second opinion. They get a second doctor to read the scans. Right. Get a second scan. You want, if it's from a blood test, go to a different place and get the blood test.
High quality healthcare.
Yes.
Folks.
Don't get your healthcare from a department store if you can avoid it.
No. Yeah. And also, if you're a doctor, don't work in a clinic in a department store, because he's just miserable the whole time.
And there is that reminds me of the little meta commentary that really doesn't fly quite the same today, but is still relevant, where she can't get the operation to remove the tumors because her HMO won't approve it, which was a huge thing at that time, which I know HMOs still exist, but they were a punchline and like the bane of our healthcare system in 2005, 2006.
I did enjoy when the price is quoted, and that's without anesthesia. Beat. You're going to want the anesthesia.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, don't expect any biting social commentary, but there are some nice little jokes.
Yeah. It's curl up on the sofa with a blanket and some wine and some snacks and just
it's fun. Yeah. It is nothing wrong with it.
No. Is that the best you can say? Nothing wrong with it.
Put it on the back of the box. Nothing wrong with it.
Says David Owen. Okay.
Noted film critic.
Good to know. Anyway, that's Last Holiday. Well,
Yes.
folks, we would love to know what you think of Last Holiday. Would you have liked to see John Candy in this role?
Yeah.
What did you think of Queen Latifah's clothes, by the way? We didn't talk about that, but she has some beautiful outfits, which I covet. Like the purple dress that she's wearing in the shop. Like, I want that. Not so big on the hair bow she's got at the end. That's a little 90s. But, let us know what you think about this or any other aspect of it. You can either tweet at us or you can write us an email. Our handle at either Twitter or Gmail is the same. It's YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours. And we are back to our regular schedule of new episodes every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, you can look for a new episode. We are on most of your major podcast providers, specifically Apple Podcasts and Spotify, also Pandora, and lots of other places. So check anywhere. While you're there, we would love it if you would rate, review, and subscribe. And then you will get our latest episodes in your queue. So you always know what the latest is. And speaking of what the latest is, what is our episode going to be next time, Dave?
Next time, we're going to be doing Christmas-adjacent movie, Lethal Weapon.
Okay. Even more adjacent than this, which is to say, this one was not at all.
Literally any movie is more
Yes.
Christmas.
Yes.
Do they show a Christmas tree?
Yeah.
It's more Christmas-adjacent
There
than
we
this.
go. I'm sorry. I remembered it being more about Christmas. But,
Hey, it's got the word holiday in the title.
There we go.
Which, in my reading of the title, doesn't actually refer to a specific holiday, but more the concept of holiday as in vacation.
Sure.
But okay,
Sure.
We'll let it pass.
It's early December. We're just getting into,
sea legs.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So next time we're going to do Lethal Weapon. Okay.
Too old for this shit.
That's what they say.
They say that in that movie.
I've heard that.
Riggs and Murtaugh.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh crap! This is Mel Gibson, isn't it?
It is. This peak Mel Gibson,
it's before he went bonkers.
Yeah, it's before. He was probably always bonkers, but this is this is peak. Like, this is the movie that put him in the sort of American movie, Hollywood's zeitgeists, whatever.
Do we see his butt? I think that was.
In the moonlight. Yeah, this is the butt in the moonlight.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there might be two, but I'm pretty sure that's this one.
That was one of the things I knew about him before I'd ever seen him in anything, was that he had a nice butt, and I think I saw it in Braveheart, and I was like, okay, I don't really.
I mean, you haven't seen it in the moonlight yet.
I don't really appreciate men's butts. That's not a part that, but let's see. I may just go crazy when I see this.
You may.
So
you may.
We'll tune in next time for me and how I react to Mel Gibson's butt.
Butt review. Next time.
10 out of 10 would smack it in the moonlight. Anyway, so I like this adding of beer to our podcast.
Yes.
I feel like we have a lot more fun.
It loosens you up, certainly.
I don't know if the listeners have more fun, but okay. We'll see you next time with Lethal Weapon and Mel Gibson's butt. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye. I feel like most episodes now I don't need outro music because you just crack yourself up at the end of the episode and I can just slow fade out to you.
I'm very funny.
You are.
I am
quite
fucking hilarious.
You are quite. Quite.
Maybe this is my problem. I just need to drink more all the time.
Yeah. You always need 2 beers in you at any given time.
Yes.
The total amount of beer in you equals 2 beers.
I wonder if there's a patch for that.
Yes. If not, science, what are you doing? Get on that. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.